Let's go.
Party rock is in the house tonight. Everybody just have a good time.
Yeah.
And we gon' make you lose your mind. Everybody just have a good time.
Clap.
Party rock is in the house tonight.
So my name is Mohamad. Thanks for the intro, Wissam. Well, I don't know, when did I graduate now? 12 years ago I finished my HSC now, so I'm definitely on the old side. I happen to be Tariq's cousin as well, so the founder and owner of Alpha Omega, so it's good to be back among family here. Tariq's son, my brother's in the crowd as well, so yeah, I feel like it's part of the family coming back. Anyway, so let's get straight into it, even though there's no images. Okay, about me. So I'll start with basically the start, go back to the parents. So parents are from Lebanon, from a small village town in Lebanon called Bakhoun. And my mum, she went to year 5 at school, and then she stopped. She graduated at year 5. She was one of 18 kids. So one of 18 kids, one of 18 kids. So you can imagine they needed some help around the house. So came to year 5, and it's like, she was really good at school apparently, but it was like, hey, we need some help around the house. We need somebody out there milking the cows, whatever it is. Get out of school. So she was out of school along with a few of the other ones. And my dad, well, I don't know what his reason was, because he was one of 8 kids, and he graduated in year 3. He decided to call it quits. So, yeah, so parents, they didn't have the opportunity to do any better than that, because that was just the environment that they lived in, and the circumstances weren't there. But they had a real emphasis on education. So these parents that only went to year 3 and year 5 had this non-stop, and Coda in the crowd can tell you this, non-stop, did you do your homework? Don't you have any homework to do? Study anyway, even if you don't have homework. It was non-stop. It was like the soldiers, go do your homework, go do this. And they had this emphasis for education, even though they did, and I think it's because they didn't have that opportunity themselves. So, well, now we've got, so I'm one of 8 kids, I'm number 3 of 8, and so far we're like 6 from 6 in terms of going to university and graduating, and Coda's number 7, so we're a bit not sure if Coda's going to be, he's going to mess it up. But so far we're 6 from 6. And basically my story is I've always been a sort of a maths lover, math geek. So in high school, and one of the great things, of course, of being Alpha Omega and having Tariq as your cousin and being a math geek, you have all the resources to sort of extend yourself. So I ended up going a year ahead with maths. I did my 4-unit maths HSC when I was in year 11. Got 99 in that. So a year early, yeah. But the nice thing about that was when I got to year 12, it was all nice and easy because I only had 6 units. So I pretty much cruised to a 99.85 HSC, ATAR, UAI, they used to call it UAI back then. And it was really all too easy. But anyway, without trying to sound too cocky, I might just see if I can get these prompts happening. Remember what I was meant to talk about? Oh, the images are there. They are there, anyway. That's Coda in the crowd there. Anyway, so like I said, I'm a math nerd, and I'm still cooler than you. Okay, so I ended up getting 99.85, and I was one of those guys, not like Varun, I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I knew I loved maths. I knew I wanted to do something to do with maths. I also had a bit of a passion for business, and I liked the idea of that, but I was confused. Great thing was, and I guess it was great, but it was also probably more confusing. I got 99.85. I could do anything. So I could do whatever it was. At the time, I think 99.7 would get you into medicine. There was no such thing as a GMAT, or UMAT, whatever it's called. You just, GMAT, GAMSAT, I don't know. There was no such thing, clearly. So with 99.85, you could do whatever you want. Parents are probably saying, yeah, doctor, because that's pretty much all they knew. I knew I wanted to do something with maths. So in the end, I really didn't know, actually, and I basically ended up going for somebody told me that actuarial studies was supposed to be really hard and really mathematical, and only 33% of people pass it. So I was like, perfect, that's it. That's what I want to do. You know? Only 33% of people do it. That's my sort of thing. So I ended up doing that, and I did reasonably well at that. And then I went on and did the Masters of Commerce in Business. Again, just because I wanted to be a bit more well-rounded. So, but at that stage, I started to get more of an idea about what I wanted to do in life. At that stage, I started to realise actuarial studies was pure maths, science, statistics side of things, and I wanted to have a better grounding in the whole business, to understand where it fits in the broader sense. So, okay, now what? I knew sort of the area I wanted to go into, and this is this is the difference between medicine and choosing something like commerce, actuarial studies, where you're not actually choosing a profession so much. You're going into university, and you still got to make that decision after, because you're not going to be an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor. You're just sort of just in the area of finance and business. Finance and business is massive, so you still come up after finishing university, and you got this decision again. Okay, now what? What do I actually go after? What sort of job should I go for? So I could have got a job as a pure actuary, but as a pure actuary, it wasn't really the field. It was pretty much is very niche. You can only insurance companies or superannuation is really the only area you can work in. And I knew I wanted to do something a bit broader than that, but I still didn't know what. I ended up doing something more niche actually. I saw this job ad that said you got to pass this 8-minute math test. You got to do 80 questions, maths questions in 8 minutes. I had no idea what the job was. I really didn't at the time, but I was like, yeah, that's it. That's the one I'm going to go for. So I did that 80 questions, and I passed that test, and then I passed the next 3, and the job ended up being for a derivative trading job. This is what your desk looks like as a derivative trader. It's actually not that big. You get about 8 screens, not 50 or whatever's there. That's what a derivative trader is. To describe it to you, what the type of work is, it's an interesting sort of job. It's fast-paced. It's probability. One of my passions is probability. It's my favourite area of maths. So it's an understanding. It's being able to act fast. Prices are moving quickly. Okay, so derivative trading, it's basically trading options on the stock market. And what you see there is basically prices. Prices moving fast, and you've got to act fast and make decisions and make the right choices. Which options do you want to buy? Which options do you want to sell? That's basically the game. And it really felt like a game. It was going out there and it was playing PlayStation. It really was. You go out there and you see those screens and you got competitors. They're across the market, so you know that there's other guys that are going to try and get the best trades, and you're trying to beat them to the best trades, and you're not quite sure, but you're going to take that risk and jump on and get that. So that's the sort of game it is. So I really took a liking to it. I did really well at it. After 2 years there, I was a team leader. So they got me to trade the Korean index. The Korean index, of all places, is the busiest stock market in the world, Korea. You wouldn't think so, like Korea, seriously. But the reason is Asians love to gamble. And in Korea, casinos are banned. So they banned the casinos, so instead they gamble on the stock market. And just mums and dads just put money on the stock market. So it's a really, really busy market, and we hadn't quite cracked it. And they just put me there after 2 years. They threw me in there, and I was like, really? Like, you're going to put me in there? Like, I'm doing well, but I'm sort of just in the area that I know. You're going to put me in a whole new area that they know has got a lot of potential, but we're underperforming as a company. So they just threw me in. It was like, okay, sure, let's give it a go. And I got in there, and I got in there 1 year before the global financial crisis. And I turned around the trading strategy in there, a whole different way, different approach to trading that product. So I won't go into the details, but just very quickly, because it's such a busy market, the idea was that I had for that was you can always choose what position you want to have. So don't do a trade. Any trade you do, you've got to be accountable for it. Any position you take, you've got to be accountable for it, because it's such a busy market, you can always choose whether you want to buy or sell or whatever. So we changed the whole trading philosophy, and we ended up going really, really well in that market. The following year was the global financial crisis. Now, the global financial crisis, you guys, I don't know how old you guys were in the global financial crisis. You probably heard it on the news. Everyone's crying poor. the economy is all failing. We, as derivative traders, we love that kind of stuff. Nothing is better than the markets just going up, down like crazy, because it just means there's opportunities. That's what we're playing. That's the game we're playing, is prices going up and down, and we're buying and selling and working out. So the more they're moving up and down like crazy, the more opportunities we have to trade to make money. And we made a killing in the global financial crisis with the trading strategy that I developed. We did so well that I got made a senior partner after 4 years. I was the youngest partner in the history of the company. So things were going really well at Optiva, a derivative trading firm that I was working at. And at that point, I sort of started to think to myself, okay, so we've got this sort of, I just got made senior partner, and now the money's going to start rolling in. You know, the big bucks are starting to come in because you start getting a profit of a share of the profits that they're making. You know, and in that sense, everything points to success, and that was, yeah, success. But now what, right? What am I doing now? So I had some time to reflect, and I actually decided to, after 1 month after being a senior partner, I decided to call it quits. So I went into work and told them, you know what, I'm quitting. To the shock of everyone. It's like, why would you quit? Of all people, you just got promoted to senior partner. You're making a killing. Everybody thinks that you're a superstar trader. Why are you quitting now? And the reasons were a few different reasons, but largely, probably the biggest reason was the religious reasons. Trading derivatives. So as a Muslim, trading a derivative is it's a derivative product. So it's not a product in itself. You know what it is you're not actually buying and selling shares. You're buying. So you get the option to buy shares, right? So it's sort of like, to give you an idea, it's sort of like I say to somebody, if the price of this car goes up, you owe me $5. If the price of the car goes down, you owe me $5. You don't actually have the car, right? You're just trading on the contract on the car. So that's what an option is. So Islamically, that's very grey area. I managed to convince myself that it wasn't that bad, but then when I had some time to reflect, I realised that. Another thing that really made me realise that was the global financial crisis. So it came to the global financial crisis, and all you'd see on the news every single day was the whole world crying poor about the economy's falling, economy's failing. And we were in a position, like I said, where we were killing it, making a lot of money in the market. So it was a case of, for me, it was a case of, what am I doing here? How can we sort of be like high-fiving and celebrating whatever, and we're celebrating off the exact thing that's destroying the rest of the world with the economy. So it didn't sit well with me, and I had a chance to sort of think about it and say, okay, so why would I stay here? The only reason I would stay would be just the money. That would be the only reason and nothing else. So I decided to call it quits, and I had no idea what I was going to do next. I just thought, back to square one, you know? Doing the HSC, now what? So I quit, now what? And then a friend of mine, actually, who was one of my staff at the time, he had this idea, and he actually has a tuition company as well, based out in Double Bay, in the eastern suburbs. He asked me, "What are you going to do now? That you know, everyone's, what are you going to do now? You finished your, you know, you're just quitting like that." And I said, you know, I'm going to do something probably simple. I'm going to go back. I'll probably just do a year at uni, get a dip ed, and I'm going to become a math teacher. Nice, clean job. Don't have to worry about the whole financial world and you know, the morals about it, and I go back to just doing maths, which is what I love. So he had a tuition company, and he told me, okay, I got this idea for basically bringing the maths textbook into the future through the use of technology. So we spoke about it a bit, and I won't go too much detail about what it is, but we basically started a company called MathSpace. So absolutely from scratch. So obviously from 4 years there, had a bit of money saved up, and just found a developer, got together and said, this is the idea. We're going to take the maths textbook and bring it completely digital. And so the early days was, that's not me, but the early days was just really in a garage, me and this other guy, the developer, and I'm just throwing in maths questions into this system, And we're just going back and forth saying, yeah, you got to develop it like this, you got to develop it like that. And I come back and put some questions in, and we're just going back and forth, building this online maths textbook. So I got thrown into a whole new world of entrepreneurship that I didn't really even think about in the start. I'm actually building my own business here. So, and the things that I've learned along the way with building this business is, are you investable or employable? These are the sorts of things. So when you start this company now, we started the company, we got it off the ground, we got a little bit of, okay, it looks like it's a good idea. Now you need to find investors. You need to go out there and you need to find and tell people your idea and pitch to people your idea and get them on board to say, you know what, I'm going to back you. I'm going to back you as an individual. You don't have a product yet. You don't have any customers yet. You're just in the idea stage very early on you've put something together in the garage, doing that, you put something together that works. And you go out there and you pitch to people, and this is the question that's going through their mind. Are you investable? And you should ask yourself this. This is, are you investable? Could you go and say to somebody, I got this idea to do something, okay, and I need $1 million. Would they give you $1 million? What is it that's going to make you investable? Are you just employable? Are you even employable as a first step? Are you somebody wants you to work for them? And that's a whole new level to go from being employable to being investable. Being employable just means that you get the job done. Being employable means if I tell you do this, you get it done. That's a good employee, and you need those types of people in the world. But then there's another level of being investable, being somebody that you're going to go out there and get the stuff done. You're going to go out there and you're going to put the team together, and somebody's going to believe you enough to give you $1 million or whatever money you need to put this thing together and build this business. So we got out there and we started pitching, and we happened to win a couple of pitch competitions just with what we're doing with MathSpace. I went to Singapore, I went to Silicon Valley in America, which is the tech hub of the world, pitching this idea of the digital maths textbook. And we managed to get some funding, so we got investors to come on board and back us for our project. And now we're going out and building it, and hopefully over the next couple of years, maybe you guys are probably, it's past your time. You guys are going to year 11 and 12 next year. But in the next couple of years, hopefully you'll see a lot of schools and a lot of students instead of using their traditional textbook, using something like MathSpace, which is a whole digital textbook and a whole new level of interactivity in your book rather than just, static pen on paper. So I thought I'll just give you an idea of what entrepreneurship is all about. So entrepreneurship is basically, well, I like Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, is multi-millionaire now. He described it as jumping off a cliff and building a plane on your way down. That's what entrepreneurship is. It really is. It's jumping off that cliff. You have got no idea. You're charting. You're basically going through uncharted waters. You're doing something nobody else has done before. We're building this textbook a digital textbook in a way that nobody has done before. So it really is. You're jumping off a cliff. You don't know the answer. You don't know the solution. You don't know where it's going to get you. But you're using whatever resources you have to try and build that plane on the way down, to make sure that once you jump off that cliff, just before you land, you're going to actually have that plane built and be ready for takeoff. So some of the advice that I found I'm probably giving it advice from a sort of longer term view, somebody that's gone through uni, gone through a career, and then sort of done a big U-turn in the career. So one of the things I can sort of tell you is it doesn't matter what career path you choose now. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't think about it, right? It doesn't mean you should, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, I'm not going to. No, absolutely, you should think about it. And as Varun was saying, it gives you direction and it gives you something to aim for. But it doesn't matter because that's not what's going to make you in the end. You could, if what you have in your mind right now, that doesn't change by the time you hit 65 and retire, then you're either bored or you're boring. You're bored. You're bored doing that same job every day till you're 65, working for that same company, sitting behind that same desk. And if you're not bored, then you're bloody boring, let me tell you. I don't want to know you because you'd be that boring as going into work doing that same thing. you're uninspired and you're uninspiring. Seriously, think about it. You don't want it. It's going to change, but think about have a direction, and it's more about pushing in that direction and doing the right things, going forward. The other piece of advice I'll give you is, take some pictures of this one. This is probably the only person that'll ever tell you this. Don't study for the HSC. Start tweeting and putting it on Facebook. Wissam's kicked me out. What I mean is, it doesn't mean don't study for the HSC. I mean, don't study for the sake of the HSC. Because you're going to find yourself in that same position where it's the now what. You're not studying to get 77 in the HSC because that's exactly the mark that I need to get into, what I want to do. I want to do teaching at UWS because that's the lowest mark that I need to get into teaching is 77. That's what I'm aiming for. You put that 77 on your wall. If you get 78, you're going to be disappointed. I worked too hard. I only needed 77, I got 78, I'll work too hard. I could have just played that extra game of footy or whatever it is and just watched that TV an extra hour and just got 77, far out. You're not studying for the HSC, you're not studying for that mark. And as soon as you do, your whole perception of the world changes as soon as you no longer, it's not about the mark, it's not about the HSC. It really does. The whole perception of the world is you're learning for the sake of learning. Barack Obama said that, not me. You're learning for the sake of learning. You're learning because you want to become not just employable. Well, firstly, you want to become employable since somebody would actually want you to work for them. But then you want to be a level above that. You want to be investable. You want to be somebody that I can actually sit there and I've got this skill set that I can tell people this is what I want to do. And people look and they back you because they know that you have commitment, that you have a passion for what you're doing, that you have the ability and the skill and the smarts to do what you're doing. You become investable. So it's not a case of as soon as you change your mindset to I'm not going to study just for that mark, just to get there. Because if you do that, you'll find that you're doing the same thing again. What you do is you got that 77 and you got into that role and you get into uni, right? So now you're at uni and you're like, okay, now I just got to pass that subject so I can get to the next year. And you're just constantly just chasing your tail and you're living a life of just, I just got to pass that next thing. And then you get that job and you're like, okay, I just got to do enough that I stay in the job. And it's really an uninspiring life that you're going to lead. Just a life of you're just living just because you're living. Because you can't die. That's all. But when you change that mindset to I'm doing this to achieve something because there's a bigger goal behind it. Because I'm just being the best individual that I can be, and I'm making the most of what God's given me. I'm making the most of the opportunity that I had. That my parents, only passed year 3, year 5. They left there because they didn't have that opportunity, but they understood that if they did, they would have done things different. So you have that opportunity, and if you think along that and you change your mindset, then studying doesn't become a chore. It doesn't become, I'm studying to get that 77. So studying is becoming, and learning becomes something that you want to do because you want to be the best that you can be. So that's my advice for the HSC.